Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of Put Me in the Game. This is my week 2 must start list. For my must start list from here on out, I won't list very many star players. If you have Justin Jefferson or Pat Mahomes on your fantasy team, you should never take those guys out of the lineup. And if you do, well, maybe fantasy football isn't for you. Try cornhole or bowling. By this point in season-long fantasy leagues, your team is pretty much set anyway. So from here on out, I'll focus on those fringe guys, second-tier players, and strong plays for the week. I'll also list a few waiver wire pickups to look out for, and I'll give you my daily fantasy pick, my money-making lineup for the week. Let's go.
Down, set, hut, hut, hut.
At quarterback this week, I'm rolling with Russell Wilson again. Russ was my week 1 must-start QB, and it looked like a good choice for the first half, but the Broncos couldn't get the ball in the end zone. Wilson failed to connect with his receivers on several red zone attempts. They were close, but close doesn't get you fantasy points. That being said, I'm riding with Russ again. He has a good matchup against the Texans, who gave up 350 yards and a tutty to Matt Ryan last week. For my RB1, I'm going with DeAndre Swift. But keep an eye on this one. DeAndre Swift ended up on the injury report this week. But he has a good matchup against the Commanders, who gave up 123 yards on the ground to the Jags last week. And get this, the Jags averaged 6.8 yards per carry. And that's with Trevor Lawrence only having 4 yards on 2 carries. The running backs actually averaged 7.5 yards per tote. I look for whoever's in the backfield for Detroit this week to have a big week. And I'll let you guys in on a little secret. The Lions, they have the best offensive line in football. They'll be able to run on anybody this year. For running back number 2, I have Javonte Williams. Well, that's if you're in a PPR league. If you're in a standard league, you might want to go with Melvin Gordon. But you should take whatever Denver running back fits your league settings. The Texans' defense is really not that bad, but their offense sucks. The Texans' defense was on the field for more than 90 plays last game. That's like a game and a half worth of plays. They wore down in the fourth quarter last week, and they will surely wear down in Mile High. That thin air in Denver is real, and the guys will be sucking on those oxygen tanks all day long. Williams had 12 targets last week, so he should get his fair share of targets against the Texans as well. They had trouble last week stopping Nyheim Hines out of the backfield. Both Williams and Gordon will be strong fantasy options for this week. At my wide receiver 1, I have Julio Jones. Jones should be a strong play this week. The Saints corner Marshawn Lattimore loves to guard Mike Evans. And with Chris Godwin possibly out with a bad hammy, I look for Julio to have a good week. Tom Brady usually struggles against the Saints, but he had a bad game last week. I don't expect the GOAT to struggle 2 weeks in a row. Plus, I hear he and Giselle are on the mend. That should help. For my wide receiver 2, I'm going with Jalen Waddle. The Dolphins have a matchup against the Ravens, who gave up 300 yards last week to the Jets, mainly because the Jets were in catch-up mode. So the Jets got a lot of garbage time stats. However, the Ravens lost another cornerback to an ACL tear. This team seems to just be cursed with ACL tears. With Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, the Dolphins have a lot of speed at wide out. The Ravens will have trouble guarding both Hill and Waddle. Both guys will be a strong play this week. But again, if you have Tyreek Hill on your team, you should never take that guy out of your lineup. He's a must start every week. At tight end this week, I have Darren Waller. Last week, Travis Kelce torched the Cards. Waller is just as much of a matchup problem as Kelce, and hopefully he'll get more targets this week. I mean, at some point, The love fest between Devontae Adams and Derek Carr has to wear off. Maybe this week, Derek Carr will spread the targets around a little bit better than last week. Last week, he treated Devontae Adams like he was a shiny new Christmas toy. At my flex position, I have Leonard Fournette. Fournette ran for 121 yards last week against the Cowboys, and he has a good matchup against the Saints, who gave up $120 to Cordero Patterson last week. I think the Saints may have trouble stopping those big backs this season. Their safeties and linebackers are just not that big. And finally, the best defensive start of the week will be the Steelers. Even though they will be without TJ Watt, they still have a good matchup against the Patriots. Mac Jones is probably going to play hurt, and the Patriots offense is in disarray with Matt Patricia calling the plays. The Pats' belief that their system is more important than any player is being exposed as a failed concept. The Patriots have no one on offense that scares a defense, and without the GOAT at QB, that system simply doesn't work. More importantly, the Steelers still have Minkah Fitzpatrick. He was a beast last week against the Bengals. Not only did he have a pick six, but he also blocked the extra point that led to the Steelers actually winning that game. By far, he was the best player on the field, and that includes Jamar Chase. And before I let you guys go, let's take a look at a few waiver wire pickups. These are some guys you should just take a look out for. This week on the waiver wire list, you should look at picking up Jeff Wilson Jr. The Niners lost their starting running back, Elijah Mitchell. He's going to be out a while, too. So Jeff Wilson Jr. may be someone to swing in your lineup for a few weeks. If you need a wide receiver, you should look at Curtis Samuel, who had 11 targets and 4 carries out of the backfield for the Commanders. I know there's going to probably be a lot of guys picking up Jahan Dotson, who had 2 scores last week, and he's a good option, especially in a keeper league. But Samuels will probably be a good start for this week, though. And keep an eye out for rookie Brian Robinson. That guy got shot like 2 weeks ago, and he's back at practice already. Now, that's the kind of dude I want on my fantasy team. If you need a tight end in a pinch this week, try adding O.J. Howard. The Broncos struggled to cover the Seahawks tight ends last week, and Howard had 2 touchdowns in his debut with the Texans against the Colts. He should get more playing time this week as he learns more of the Texans' offensive playbook. And to add to that, the Broncos will be without their all-star safety, Justin Simmons, which will probably hurt them, except for the fact that they're playing the Texans' offense. Like I said, they suck. Finally, before I let you guys go, here's a look at my DraftKings Moneymaker lineup for this week. It has a lot of the same players we discussed in this video, and I'll let you know how this lineup shakes out for the week. I appreciate you watching. We'll catch you next time on Put Me in the Game.